Okay, Tyler Perry fan, so I watched Divorce in the Black, the first of Tyler's four movie deal with Prime Video. And to be completely honest, this movie was exactly what I thought it was going to be from the trailer. And if I remember correctly, my trailer breakdown video is titled Tyler Perry's Divorce in the Black is exactly what I thought it would be. And to be completely upfront with you, I don't think this movie review is going to be a thorough, hey, I want to talk about every single detail, every single scene, because the movie doesn't warrant that. I feel like this video is me talking more about what I wish this movie could have been, due to the fact that I think Dallas could have been a more complex character than what he was. But from the jump, let me just say this. The acting was pretty good. We had some pretty talented actors in this film. But of course, it goes without saying, in almost every single Tyler Perry project, there's going to be some solid actors, but some weak ass scripts. I think this this movie suffered from two big things. Number one, the runtime. I do not think this movie needed to be, what was it, 2 hours and 1 minute, even though I think you could just shave off 8 minutes because the last 7.5 to 8 minutes was nothing but the closing credits. But I feel like before we got to like the third act, the movie should have just ended there. If you watch Mea Culpa, the Netflix film with Kelly Rowland, I know I probably freaked up the name, but like I said, that movie was a one and done. And it just faded to the back of my memory after I watched that one time and did my review. But kind of like that film, this movie, it did not need the third act violence. You know, like when a Tyler Perry movie has the last 10 to 20-ish minutes of everything just goes right to hell. There's going to be some fights. Someone's going to die. Somebody's going to get stabbed. Somebody's going to get shot. You name it, it's going to happen that way. I feel like Dallas as a character reminded me of AJ from Medea's family funeral. He was the character that played KJ Smith's husband in that movie. And he was the son who was like, man, my daddy died. My daddy died. His demeanor the entire movie was basically Dallas, because you could look at AJ's face and he had his resting pissed, he had a resting pissed face. Like, you know, that was his entire attitude the entire movie. Dallas was the same way. And I just felt like, I mean, from an acting perspective, Corey brought it. Like, he was a dislikable character from the jump, which he brought the toxicity that is required to play a role like this. But the problem is that's all he was. They tried to throw in a, oh yeah, also this spoiler alert, whatever you want. Look, this is a movie review. You know, I don't, beat around the bush. Like, I want to tell you about the dang movie. It sucks because they tried to make Dallas somewhat of a compelling character, but it really didn't work for me. I mean, you could argue that there were some signs of foreshadowing towards the beginning of the film. And yes, the opening scene with the funeral, oh, we're going to talk about that, but I'm kind of jumping ahead here. The movie itself starts off in the church. It's a funeral for Dallas's, I believe, the oldest brother. And he got killed in an attempted robbery, robbing like an old lady. Now, the thing about it is Dallas comes from a troublesome family background, if you will. Basically, Dallas's mom didn't really raise her boys well. And as a result, you know, they have a reputation over the years, ever since they were young, for, you know, like basically rampaging and, being pillagers of this, the small town, from robbery, forcing themselves on women and other sorts of crimes and whatnot. And as a result of that, the oldest brother, I believe it was stated, he had just gotten out of jail, and not long after, pow, he's dead because he's shot by the woman he was trying to rob. And Ava's father was giving, the sermon at the funeral, and he basically goes in on Dallas's family about, the fact that, hey, it's not too late to turn around. and, you know, do right in life as opposed to potentially burning in hell for your sins. And the mama doesn't take it so well. So she gets up and basically she, you know, goes at Ava due to the fact that Ava was the one who arranged the funeral in the first place, because essentially Dallas's family is, well, I hate to say it, but just a bunch of country bumpkins, and they feel like Ava is the enemy. It's like, oh, you stole our brother, you stole our son away from us, and you took him to Atlanta, which I believe is stated to be about 90 minutes from this country town. So as a result, Dallas's family resents Ava for that. And the craziness of this scene is that they take the brother's body out of the casket because of the fact, like, you know, we don't want y'all to say y'all did anything for us. And, you know, this woman starts taking off her clothes. I didn't need these hand-me-downs from your mama. And I'm like, this is crazy. But here's the thing, though. The moment where I thought that, oh, we're getting some foreshadowing of Dallas being like a deep character is the fact that when the mama makes them take the body out of the casket, Dallas is extremely against this. His mom literally just had to keep shouting at him for him to do it. So it really made you think like Dallas didn't want to do what his mom was telling him to do, you know? So it's just one of those situations where I felt like Dallas could have been the kind of character who was in a tug of war of, okay, I really love Ava, but at the same time, my family is my people, you know, who I came from. They raised me and whatnot. And then this woman who is the preacher's daughter, they grew up in the same town. Essentially, it's a situation where I felt like Tyler could have done something more with Dallas as opposed to the, oh, evil black guy character. So, you know, he's an abusive husband and Ava is the angel. And like I said, there's really no complexity there. You could argue Ava kind of had an arc due to the fact that it shows you what happens when you push a good person too far. But at the same time, it's like they're complete polar opposites. And I really wish you would... Tyler didn't make me give a crap about Dallas. The one moment I thought I would was at the funeral where he was reluctant to take his brother's body out of the casket. But then from that point on, he's just a complete asshole. They tried to have a moment where it's like, you know, later on, you know, he's like super drunk. He's sleeping by the toilet because he keeps puking out his guts. And Ava tries to console him and whatnot. But that really didn't last too long because the next day he's right back to being an asshole. But just to briefly summarize the movie, you know, Ava and Dallas go back to Atlanta. They have dinner with Ava's friend who did not grow up in town with them. So Ava's bestie is Rona. And her husband is actually from the same town as Ava and Dallas. So he knows Dallas and, you know, they're friends. So basically Dallas and Rona's husband, you know, are boys. But at the same time, Rona, you know, doesn't really like the way that Ava's being treated. And from there, you know, they're at this double date dinner and it doesn't go well because Dallas is still kind of tipsy and he just goes off on the fact that, Ava, you're always trying to change me. It's like, you know, my mama didn't want that funeral. We didn't want that funeral. But you said, you know, it was a proper funeral instead of letting us bury him, you know, pretty much on their land like all their other, you know, past relatives. So really, it's just one of those situations where it's like, okay, yeah, this is just, the parents obviously did not approve of Ava marrying this guy, but Ava felt like, you know, okay, Dallas, there's something about him that's different. He went through something and basically it's essentially but I can fix him, daddy, that kind of thing. And from there, it's like the trailer pretty much spells out like the only reason Ava has fought so hard to stay in the marriage is despite all the things Dallas has put her through, is the fact like, you know, mama and daddy all set the example of what it is to be in a good marriage and what a good wife, you know, means in terms of sticking by her man no matter what. But there's a limit to this. And it's the fact that, yeah, but your daddy was nowhere near as awful as Dallas was. I mean, being a good wife to him was kind of easy due to the fact that it doesn't seem like he's anywhere near the level of toxic or, you know, abusive as, you know, Dallas is. And it was stated that Ava's dad was an ex-Marine. So it is something that happens later in the movie where Ava's mom finds out in a letter about all the abuse that Dallas has done against Ava. but they hide him because, you know, her dad would just be triggered by this and go put a cap in his behind. So from there, the divorce happens, you know, and the thing is, Rona and Ava's parents, they're kind of like in a rush to get their daughter back out there somewhere in terms of being with a good person after being in that toxic relationship for so long, which kind of feels rushed. I mean, parents kind of do that. It's like, hey, baby, we're proud of you for going to college and we'll support you. But then as soon as you graduate and you have to come home, they're like quick to get you. Okay, we got to get you a job to get out of here. It's like, but I just went through a divorce. Can you give me some time to process? But it just seems like everybody on the sideline of that marriage was just waiting for Ava and Dallas to, you know, end it. That way they can, you know, fix her up with someone better. But apparently there's an old town flame, if you will, Benji, who they try to hook her up with. And it turns out he's actually going through a divorce as well. They actually had a pretty good scene. Let me just say up front, I think Megan Good was the saving grace of this film. Like I said, Corey brought it when it comes to playing Dallas, but the script really didn't allow his character to truly have a compelling story arc. Because, you know, there was something that happened towards the beginning of the film. You know, when Dallas is over the toilet, you know, puking and whatnot because he's drunk. And then he says, she made me do it. And at the end of the film, it comes to find out we have a full circle moment because Dallas's mom made him kill his father because his father was abusive towards his mother, which is really tragic because the abused wife makes her son kill his own father. And then at the end of the film, the abused wife, Ava, shoots her abusive husband dead. Dang, that's jacked up. But basically, when it comes to Benji, I think there was a great carnival scene, and they pretty much spent the night in the back of Benji's truck. And the thing was, it's like he made it clear, it's like, look, you know, I don't really want to try anything funny because we're both going through a divorce. Like Ava's like, you know, yeah, I just want to be alone and free and happy. And Benji's pretty much like, look, you know, I just want to be there for you. We can talk. And that's pretty much it. So it reminded me of like Calvin and Sabrina from Sisters, where it's like they don't have sex. It's just like, let me just hold you for the night. Then from there, Ava, she was like on a vacation time, you know, from her job due to the fact that, you know, the whole divorcing thing happened, because it got to the point where her 5 seconds of happiness were interrupted because Dallas just popped up at the office. And if I remember correctly, because he saw like a photo of Ava and Benji at the farm and whatnot. So he creates a scene, as he does. Oh, also, Corey had a thing where Dallas always was like pointing with 2 fingers, like, you get your ass over here. And I'm like, if you take a shot, no, wait, don't take a shot every time he does that because you'd be dead before the halfway point. But in any case, he makes a scene, so she shows up to sign the divorce papers the next day, which she does with no hesitation. And she doesn't even have a lawyer. She just shows up and does it. But the thing is, it gets to the point that, you know, Dallas becomes Gary. And I find it ironic that Dallas acting like Gary from Sisters, and then we have Gary acting in a extremely toxic and violent way. It's like, isn't it interesting that we have Dallas popping up to the I guess you could say the divorce celebration party that Rona threw for Ava, and then next week we have Gary popping up to Karen's baby shower, and that's going to cause a whole lot of drama. But in any case, you know, Dallas starts, you know, popping up like at Ava's place, eating cereal and saying like, you know, oh, this is my house. And it's like, no, it's not. You're divorced and this is her house and whatnot. And then Benji's actually in the bed. So this fool tries to beat him. But, you know, Benji's like the Incredible Hulk, and, you know, Dallas is pretty much Loki. So after one hit, he's out. Basically, it was a Jacoby Calvin situation where he got his ass knocked out. And then Ava's dragging him out of the house. And she's screaming at the top of her lungs about how, I'm tired. I'm over you. I don't want to have anything to do with you. She's just dragging him out of the house. So from there, it gets pretty dang ridiculous. Like Dallas goes to kill some of Benji's animals on his farm. And then we get to the grocery store scene where Ava's mom is shopping and Dallas just rolls up on her and just kind of grabs her. But doesn't do anything. It's pretty much just a threat. It's like, you're the one that convinced her to divorce me and whatnot. But I'm like, but you were the one who initiated the divorce. So later on, you have the second kind of double date here where it's Ava and Benji and Rona and her husband, Jim. Sorry, I didn't mention his name before, but it's Jim. And for some reason, Dallas decides to show up again under the guise of, I'm here to see my boy Jim. And despite the restraining order, he doesn't care about that because Ava has a restraining order. But what's a piece of paper when you truly love someone? Am I right? So as the movie gets closer to the end, you kind of know where things are going because it's not a Tyler Perry drama film without the final scene being an all-out just violence fest for the sake of it. And this was not necessary. It wasn't. And then it gets taken to the next level when Ava's dad finds out about Dallas, assaulting his wife in the grocery store. And well, he had the shotgun. Now, he was only threatening Dallas, but at the same time, that didn't really help because the family just gang up on him. They beat on him and even shoot him in the freaking leg. And he winds up unconscious. So the legal loophole is, well, the sheriff is like, since there's no proof Dallas was the one that hurt him, there's really nothing he can do at this moment. Now, Ava decides to take it to the next level by purpose. Now, based on the way this plot is lining up, it makes you wonder, wait, is Andy being written the way she's being written in Sisters Now due to the fact that it's kind of mirroring what happens in this film, despite the fact that Tyler didn't write season 7. So Ava pretty much decides to set him up to incriminate himself. Basically, she says, like, look, I'm going home to sleep with Benji, and guess what? I've been cheating on you our whole marriage. And this is all to provoke him. So within seconds, Dallas breaks in the house, and then, Ava's just, trying to, again, just try to get a straight answer from him. But no matter how much she tries to get him to basically tell himself about hurting her dad, he doesn't. But Ava then decides to take it to the next level by pulling up Fatima, getting Hayden to hit her, or in this case, Dallas. Now, from there, Dallas takes to the next level and just flings her across the room like a freaking sack of potatoes, proceeds to pull a Jonah like Danny. See about all the sisters references I'm making, choking her and even pulling a gun on her, which is like, oh crap. But that's when she dials 911 because guess what? Her body damage is pretty much all the proof she needs about, Dallas's abusive behavior. Now from there, she actually pulls out a shotgun and he taunts her about shooting him, and she does it, and he's dead. Now from there, things kind of end on a somewhat good note about Ava's family winning in terms of her father recovering, because the doctors kept saying it wasn't looking good. I'm like, oh snap, like, Lord, don't let this man die. Come on, he's a good man. He's a preacher and everything. He was just trying to, protect the honor of his family. But yeah, he's alive. And they're all together. But the thing is, Dallas's family is, posted up in the hallway of the hospital, and the mom is, just saying that, look, this is not the end. It's not over between us. It's an eye for an eye. But then Ava shuts her down, which I did actually like, due to the fact that it was a complete turnaround from the beginning of the film, where Ava was just like, no, I wasn't trying to embarrass your family with the funeral and everything. I was just trying to help. It's like, this is all your fault. But no, she clapped back like, look, you saw what happened to your son. This is just a prime example of what happens when you push the nice people too far. So it's over. And then they just leave the hospital, and that's it. That is it. So, like I said before, this movie was not bad. I just feel like it was kind of stale. But Megan Good's acting was truly the highlight for me. And like I said in the trailer breakdown, watching this trailer, a few weeks ago, and seeing that most of the main cast have gone through public divorces in the past couple of years, I've just wanted to see how the divorce would actually impact their acting. And prior to watching the film, I did watch Megan's interview with Club Shay Shay. I watched, I think it was Shade Room, where Corey and Megan did a, interview together about the film. And then I watched a couple of Tyler's Good Morning America and other platforms. Or I think he was on a Late Show too. And I like to do that sometimes just to kind of get a gauge for the actor's personality. That way, when they actually are in a film I need to watch for the channel, I can kind of see is like, okay, how deep that they had to dive into, you know, getting to this character. And I feel like Megan definitely was the highlight of the movie for me. Her parents are great too, definitely great too. And Corey, like I said before, he brought the toxicity needed to play a person like Dallas, but I felt like he was so one note. There weren't many layers to it. Like, yeah, the whole thing about him having to kill his dad is like, holy crap, but it doesn't really make me sympathize with the character. It's the fact that he resented Ava for constantly trying to change him, but the thing was, she was trying to help him. And that was never truly recognized. So I think it's one of those things where a divorce could have happened, but the abuse and stuff didn't need to be a part of that. Maybe the movie Divorce in the Black could have focused on the fact that Dallas was in the black or in the dark for most of the marriage because he never recognized Ava's love for him and the fact that it was all about changing him for the better in terms of helping him become a better man and overcome the obstacles that he dealt with growing up, you know, in the rough environment he was in. Because if I remember correctly, they had broken up when they were younger, but the thing was, Benji, I think her and Benji went on like a date not long after, and Dallas and his brothers jumped him. So it's just one of those things where I think that if Dallas was to quote unquote fight for Ava, it would be post divorce and him coming to the realization of, Ava, you were nothing but a good wife when I was a bad husband. It's like, I see the light now because I'm no longer in the black, but Ava has moved on. So that could have been a different angle. I mean, heck, you could have took it the Big Mama's house route, like Nia Long's character Sherry, where it's an employee. Oh yeah. Ava works at a bank. She works at a bank. You know, Sherry worked at a bank, and you know, her baby daddy Terrence, you know, stole her keys and got to the safe to steal the money. You know, got into the robbery. Got a robbery. So I'm like, I'm surprised nothing like that happened, considering that, you know, Dallas and his family are pretty, you know, black hillbilly-ish. So it's like, you know what? She taken to Atlanta. She works in that fancy bank. Why don't you try to, you know, get some money out of there or something? That would have been interesting. But yeah, the movie was just way too straightforward with a lack of complexity to warrant a second viewing. That's basically the best way to put it. Well, yeah, I didn't have a problem with the acting. Like I said, the script definitely could have been a bit fine-tuned. The look of the film, it didn't have that same level of quality as the Netflix films. I don't think it looked as good as Jazzman or Mea Culpa in terms of like the visuals and the camera work. Like, it wasn't bad, but it was noticeably a dip in quality as far as I'm concerned. The best way to put it is, this definitely looked like a movie made for a streaming service as opposed to a theatrical release, but that's all I gotta say. If I were to give it a score, I'd say about a 6.5 out of 10, mainly because I'm disappointed in the lost potential of what could have been a very solid film. And if anybody from the Tyler Perry camp is listening, which they probably are, but they're not going to change it because no doubt all the other films have been taken care of already, because remember, this is the first of a 4-picture deal with Amazon, not to mention who knows how many other Netflix shows and movies he's working on. But not every film you do, Mr. Perry, needs to end with just somebody dying for no reason because of a fight, or, you know, the last 10 or 15 minutes needing to be put together as a shock value, because that's only a small fraction of the film, especially a film that's 2 hours long. Like, the first scene was definitely Tyler Perry doing his Tyler Perry thing where he's going to shock you. But after that, the movie kind of felt stale in comparison. Like, the first like 10 minutes, like, oh damn, but then it kind of like, okay, I know where it's going from here. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. What did you feel about the movie? Do you agree with my breakdown of it? And like I said, this wasn't my typical review because the movie really did, what you see is what you get. Enough said. All right, thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you in the next video.